We are live. All right. Hello, hello, hello there. Children of the internet, people of the world. Thank you for joining me in my closet. Because I'm a geek for Star Wars, I'm such a Star Wars nerd. And I love the new episode. I put my Star Wars shirt first in my closet and the green light on in the back. And that's all I'm going to say. This isn't a Star Wars video, right? What am I talking about? You clicked on this. What did I click on there? How to stop self-harming. How to help a kid, a teenager, stop self-harming. And again, I kind of make these videos on what's going on right now in my life. Again, I do personal coaching. I have a lot of clients I work with, and kind of what's going on in their life. What they tell me. But today's topic of discussion is, I don't know if you can see that. It's definitely hard to see. But what this says is this is the third one I've gotten. This is from the County of San Diego, Child and Welfare Human Services. And, is what it is. And what it's about is because, well, my son's going through a lot, been through a lot, right? A lot of kids. Everyone you see, dude, Socrates once said, be kind because everybody you meet is fighting a hard battle. And that's the best way I can say it. And so again, he's going through things. His mom passed away, We've moved. He's wanted to move, and he wanted to move somewhere else and back and forth. And it's natural, right? But what I wanted to talk about today is it's really hard. And I know firsthand when you see someone you love, someone you care about, hurting themselves. You see your son cutting his arm with some scissors. You see, you see your son or you see somebody you love, your daughter, stabbing herself, punching herself. You see them hitting their heads against walls, punching. And again, that is just the tip of the iceberg usually when we're dealing with a self-harm, right? Because it's something, there's some substance to it. And to use that word quite literally, substanding, right? And if we want to help someone stop doing this, we need a little bit of that substance. And so that's what I'm going to try to do here in this short time is a little bit of that substance, what's going on there, how to help explore that. And then also we'll finish up with, my question with these letters, my question for you is a short-term fix. What do you do in the immediate? But first, it stinks. So the first thing we can do, I think, is important. And again, I've studied psychology, wanted to be a psychologist until, I became a little disenfranchised in things. But there's one of my favorite psychologists. His name is Carl Rogers. He says that as I accept, the paradoxical thing is that as I accept myself exactly as I am, then I am free to change. Free to change. And this can be really hard. Like I have, whether it's with myself and clients, like when we're doing this radical, this acceptance, it's not for bitches and Mitches. I'm just telling you, dude, it's not. It's hard. And so when we're dealing with a teenager or someone who's cutting themselves, someone we love, well, the first thing is we have to really accept them as they are. And I find that can be the most influential part right there. And what do I mean by that? And what we'll get to later, this acceptance does not mean passivity. Acceptance does not mean to do nothing. Acceptance simply means, I want you to think of it like this. Say this teenager that's cutting themselves, right? Imagine you want to get them from where they are now mentally cutting themselves, and you want to get them to this place where, and again, a lot you've seen it, with my son and myself. I did some self harm, when I was younger. But when we want to move from this place, there's a place they are now, this violent, outbursting, emotional, not almost like not even the people we recognize, like they don't even recognize it, and we want to help them get to this other place, right? The place where they're that same person we remember, where they're not, not maybe not the same isn't right, but they're more whatever their personality is. They're not so bent up. They're not in this psychotic like rage. And so we want to help them get there. What acceptance does, all it means when I say this, is that we must accept where they are at to get where they're going, to help them get where they're going. So if you pull out your little iPhone, whichever one you have, and you pull up Apple Maps, because who the fuck does it? But for the sake of this, we are. Why? No one else uses it. Let's use it now in our experiment. So we pull up Apple Maps and we say we want to go. We can't say anything fancy. Apple Maps isn't great at all of it. But like, let's say I'm in California and I want to go to New York. Want to go to New York. Well, to get there, for Apple Maps to calculate that, we have to know what dot we're at. Like, we all know where we want to go. We know we want to go to New York, right? New York, want to go see some things locked down, whatever. But the thing we forget, we overlook, is that acceptance of being able to accept where we are. And so when we do that and we help them accept themselves, as we accept them, they feel accepted. And they start realizing where they are. And that gives them some calibration, some like Google Maps, sorry, like, it's stuck in my head, dude. But like Apple Maps can give you, is that it gives us a direction, right? So we are still going to take actions. There's still things we're going to do. Clearly you don't want to see them cut themselves or punch the wall or, break a fucking hole in your wall again or crash another door. You don't want to see them do that. So acceptance isn't to just say, oh, we're going to do this forever. This is how it's going to be forever. This is, we're not going to do it. No. It's to get to know where we're at so we can know where we're going. And the next little bit on this before we move on, how much time do I have? Not even. The next little bit of this would be that, well, here's the interesting thing, is that, how do I say this? Well, say you're in water and you're drowning. And honestly, this is what this can feel like. I've had a lot of, from firsthand experience and with people I've worked with, it can be hard, dealing with this. Like, you almost feel like you're drowning. Even with my son, you feel drowning. You're getting letters from, welfare workers and, and your door's beat up, and like it's in tatters, and your neighbors, your neighbors hear what's going on, and your kids yelling, and you know what I mean, and you just feel drowning. Or even the kid going through it, that's a similar feeling. They just feel like they're being swallowed up by all the things crushing them. And sometimes the only release, when all these things are happening that we can't control, we can cope by, focusing on these things we can, like self-harm, and then some are more, they're healthier than others. And that's, for another discussion of helping them get there. But when we accept it, again, so we feel like we're drowning. We feel it's too much, so much we can't control, so much. But the thing about acceptance is that, well, it's like in the water. Imagine you're in the water. Imagine it's just a flat bunch of water, but it's deep as heck. You cannot touch the bottom. It's unknowable what's down there. You can try to grab the water. You can reach out and you grab it, you can push, and you can flop and you can flail and you can drown and you'll sink. But the interesting thing is that if you just accept it, that you can't control the water, that you are in the water, and if you completely relax and accept that, then you can float. And you'll just float there. And all of a sudden, like quite literally on definition, I want you to think about this. The thing that would kill you, the thing that could literally kill you, it could save you. It can hold you. And it's just how are we able to accept it? Do we try to fight it? You know? And that's not to say that we don't do anything, not to say that you're not going to take action. So that's accepted. And maybe I'll transition there on action. Is that so then when you talk about action, what do you do? So that's like the philosophical approach that you take. As we're having these conversations in these instances, we want to start really working on acceptance, relaxing, letting go. But again, that doesn't mean not taking action. We want to get an idea of where we are clearly so we can start taking the appropriate turns and exits and streets to get where we want to go. And on these streets, you're going to have issues, like, you know, um, well, imagine this, and this is a tricky thing. I've thought about this as a person, we'll just go over the example. Imagine your kid, teenager, let's say, is headbutting something, headbutting a wall. Let's say they're headbutting a wall. Now, that stinks, okay? And you see them hurting themselves. Should you sit by and let them hurt themselves? Say they're destroying your house, they're punching things, and they're hurting themselves in the process. Should you sit by and watch as they do that? And then if you don't sit by and watch and do nothing, what do you do? What do you do? And how do you do that? Think of something like child abuse, and listen, I've done things I'm not proud of as a father, and there's been times where I'm not gonna lie to you, where I think I have done things that, by any time of, if you look at the definition of abuse, I think it would fit that, physical. I mean, I picked my son up, by his neck one time. It's just, again, this was years ago, and again, that makes me sound bad, but I'm ignoring, and I don't have to tell you about all the years and the things I've done good, but these things happen. But the reason is when that happened, I took a lot of time to really focus on myself and work on meditation and like really letting go of some of my anxieties, some of the anger, frustration I was holding on to. So that way I would stop, getting physical with him out of anger or anxiety. But recently, this past week even, I have gotten physical with him. But it wasn't out of anger or anxiety. It wasn't out of grasping to control the water. I mean, so long story made incredibly short is that, say something like that happens and your house is getting destroyed, I put my son, I grabbed his hands. He wants to headbutt me, he headbutt me. When that happened, I put him in a chokehold, basically, with my hand around his back, almost like a guillotine, little redneck Brazilian jiu-jitsu. And I'm not saying I'm proud of this. I'm not saying I'm proud of this. My question, I guess, on this and kind of the where I'm at now is like, isn't that healthier for him? And clearly, listen, the other day, a couple days ago, he hit me. He slapped me in the face. I didn't slap him back. And when he headbutt me, I did not headbutt him back. Like, we must watch about that, because to do that is to be a thermometer, not a thermostat. We don't want to just react. We don't want to let the waves, make us freak out and start trying to grab and control as we drown. No. We accept things as they are. Where are we at in this? And you might find, my question is, again, if you find your son or someone you care about or a teenager hurting themselves, can you accept that? Can you help them explore that? If it's time for when they're really harming themselves, can you accept the fact that you might need to just calm the situation down? And how does this change? Again, I know we talk about genders and sex and all this, and I don't know enough, as much as I know enough to make me dangerous. But what does that mean? I mean, again, if you got a 14-year-old boy and he's 150 pounds and he's 6 foot tall, and you a girl, and you know what I mean, or you an old lady, should you be restraining him as he's doing these violent things? Because are you not going to cause yourself more harm and him more harm? And conversely, if you're a man, right, you got a deep voice, you got a different, you got a chromosome, got that Y chromosome, and you got bigger shoulders, what's the responsibility of that? Is there one? If he's harming, is it not kind of your job to maybe take a couple punches and elbows to put him in a situation so things are calmed down? And if so, how do you explain that? How is that different than abuse? Because is it the same thing? I mean, physically, if you put your arm around your child's neck and you hold their arm behind their back, that could be defined as abuse. But does why you do it matter? Took you to the thing. Anyways, I hope this helped you guys today. If you have a teenager that's struggling with self-harm, I know it can be incredibly hard. And a lot of these things are not thought out particularly well or explored at much length. So hopefully we'll be able to do that together. Thank you very much. It was good talking to you. I have no title for this shit, and I'll see you next time.